what do you think the motivation is for you then? Is it to win, ultimately, the Transcontinental? Because you're going to go back, right?
I have to go back. I can't leave it at second, so...
Hello. Hello. You remember when we caught up with Emily Chappell, right?
I do remember that.
The amazing Emily Chappell. We also caught up with Ben Davies, who came second in the Transcontinental last year.
Yep, we went for a bit of a bike ride with them.
And then afterwards we chatted to Ben about all things bike packing, bike racing, touring, saddle soaring.
And how an unusual way to combat saddle sores.
Very unusual. So check it out.
I was brought up in Devon, so it was anything to get out into the countryside, and the bike was one of the best ways to do that. When I left university, before going into a job, proper job, I took 3 months off and went and cycled Transamerica. So headed west, started in Virginia, finished in Oregon, and then had a bit of time going down the west coast and sort of into California, into the wine country, that kind of thing. And then from between Transamerica and Pan America, it was just kind of trying to fit in as much as I could around work, which is quite hard. And then it got to a point of, no, it's not satisfying the bug. I'm going to quit the job. I'm going to go do Pan America. And that was just incredible. That was really fun. I love having the adventure and going through these beautiful areas and different countries and seeing how it changes, and you meet lots of people on the bike. I got lots of memories from Pan America. It was just incredible. The route I took was mainly following the mountains the whole way down. So following the Rockies all the way down, the Sierra Nevadas, and then following the Andes through South America. Things that really stand out in my mind is the whole time in Colombia. Colombia is a proper cycling country, and that was so fun. I was on a big loaded bicycle, and whenever you're sort of doing a nice mountain climb, a lorry driver will come down and be clapping you as you're going up in Colombia. That's just the way it is. It's awesome. And then there's like really sort of more unique experiences of like long periods at high altitude, which was quite an incredible experience. So as you're going through Bolivia into Peru, you're sort of it's the Altiplano, and it's sort of, you spend a significant amount of time at sort of 4,000 meters. So it's really quite a nice experience. And then when you drop down the other side, you're super strong. But touring and racing are so different. So the first year doing Transcontinental Race and thinking some things from touring would transition well, they don't really. And it is a different concept and a different mindset. So for me, I learned a lot doing the first Transcontinental Race, and that probably influenced my races in more recent years.
Big difference between touring, even your kind of touring, which is speedy touring.
Yep.
To going to races. What was it that made you kind of get into that?
I can't just quit my job and go and do a 6-month tour all of the time. And I'm really driven by the competitive element of racing, which you obviously don't get in touring. So that's kind of the big driver. And you can see such vast areas over a really short period of time. So there's lots of different drivers which make racing more interesting to me at the moment, and sort of just seeing what my ability actually is. It's a really, really nice community. It's a really welcoming community. Lots of different people from different walks of life and different countries all sort of converge on this one race, and it's just an incredible thing to see. So lots of different drivers.
When you did the TCR for the first time, was that your first race?
Yes.
Yeah. What were you expecting, and did the reality meet expectations? What was different?
To be fair, I probably went into the race pretty green to it all, so it probably didn't have massive expectations. And I definitely remember thinking, like, I had no plan for the race in terms of distance or time or anything like that. I more wanted to see what I was capable of doing. And then the way it ended up is I took quite a cautious sort of approach to the race in the end, because there's various things happened that year and in distance cycling. So it seemed much more sensible to take a more gradual sort of approach, learn more what I was capable of doing, didn't go crazy on sleep or lack of sleep or anything like that. So yeah, that's just the way I approached it.
So the first time I raced, which was the 5th edition of TCR, I finished in something like 44th, something like that. And then I came back the second year. I'd definitely learnt a lot from it. I also went back stronger and finished 10th. And then, this year I was second. So it seemed like a good progression. But there's lots of different reasons why that happens. You definitely learn a lot from doing a race or more races, and it's things like what you eat, when you eat, where you sleep, when you sleep, for how long, how you cope with sleep deprivation. There's sort of the fitness side of things, and obviously what you're doing like I work full time, so it's at different points I've had different capability to train. So this past year I've been able to focus a lot more, have a much more structured training program. In previous years I haven't been able to do that. But then you see Fiona this year, and it was her first Transcontinental race, and she did have some long distance racing or ride experience. And so it's really cool, because that also shows that you can go into your first Transcontinental and perform like the best. So it's really cool. Different people approach it in different ways.
I've got a good story here. So I definitely need my phone alarm on the last night of Transcontinental this year. So I had quite a good buffer to the guy behind me, and the person in front was like a decent block ahead that I wasn't going to catch them in the last day. So went to sleep, totally comfortable buffer, put my alarm on for 3 hours later, 2 hours later, something like that. And I don't know if my phone alarm didn't work or if I put it off. And I woke up about 6 hours later, the biggest panic. And I thought I'd thrown my race away. And but it was awesome in the end, because I had like an hour and a half that morning in a proper, like I was stressed out because it's like, have I thrown my race away? I hadn't had a big enough buffer. But the cool thing was, because I'd slept so much that last night, the last day was like a real breeze. I was really fresh. So the last 150k, something like that, it was pretty relaxed, like it's pretty easy going. So when I finished, my partner's there, my sister's there, the TCR crew are there. You can actually enjoy it. It's really nice. So, it was quite cool. This is the TCR bike. Probably needs a little bit of a clean since the last use it, but so it's set up not as I had it for TCR, but still use it all year round. The main differences will be, so I mean, obviously I ride with tailfin pack on the back, so it's a really unique setup of bag. I'd have TT bars on for a race like TCR, and also a dynamo front wheel, and I'd have like a little pack on the front here just for things that I wanted to get to quickly. So it's basically where I'd put my phone if it was charging, off the dynamo, that kind of thing. Normal compact chain set, I think I'm running a 32 on the back, so 1132. So for me it works ideal. I'm a pretty light person, so it's good gear ratio for me. I'm a pretty minimal rider, so I get everything that I need into the tail fin basically. I have my bivy bag and sleeping bag liner in here. So all of that normal sort of stuff. Doesn't take up a huge amount of space, but it's something that I always carry with me. Pretty minimal clothing setup, so I'll be wearing one set of kit. Generally I'll have a long sleeve jersey as well, and a second pair of bibs, which is kind of a bit of a luxury. Not everyone will race with a second pair of bibs, but if I can get them rinsed and dry, or at least dry, that's generally a benefit for me. And a second pair of socks, which is always good. Toothbrush and toothpaste and wet wipes. So wet wipes, super luxury for that kind of race. It's real nice. I run this as a tubeless setup, but carry tubes as well, just in case, and capability to fix the tubeless tyres if needs be. I think that's maybe one interesting thing about this bike is it's a rim brake setup and it's a cable setup, so not electronic shifting. So if anything went wrong, I can more easily fix this on the road. So I always carry a Leatherman actually, which is probably overkill, but like I can do a lot with that and open bottles of wine, so it's always good. I've got a pump, which unfortunately is needed every now and again, and then high vis. So that's kind of like the basis of what I carry. There is always other little bits, and it depends on the race. So if it's going to be really cold conditions, obviously there's a lot more clothing. It's still got my TCR plan on it.
CP3 to 4,
pedaling.
7 miles after CP3 band tunnel.
Yeah, that's
Take route on left.
Yeah.
You're going across the whole of Europe and it says take route on left. You also did the Transpyrenees this year. Things didn't go according to plan. It did to start with, right? I think you went out quite strong, and then what happened?
Transpyrenees is a new race. It's sort of distance-wise, it's quite a lot shorter than Transcontinental, so 1,200 kilometres as opposed to about 4,000 kilometres. But as you're in the Pyrenees, it's a significant amount of climbing, and in theory, it should be a race that suits me quite well. So I drove down the day before registration. I woke up on the registration day, and I thought I had a cold. I was just like not feeling 100%. I thought I'd be fine. And I woke up feeling the same on the day of the race. So it was sort of a 6 a.m. start going out of Biarritz. It was a pretty rainy, chilly day. And I thought I had a cold. So I thought I'd be fine. I'll just be able to like persevere, ride through it, whatever. So I managed to stay up towards the front for the first 250k, something along those lines. And all day I felt like I didn't have anything in my legs. I felt really run down, but I was doing a decent enough pace. And then I just started vomiting and really wasn't well. And basically I picked up a stomach bug at some point on the drive down or whatever. So yeah, it was just 250k and I was sick, and it was not a very pleasant experience because I then had to get my way back to Biarritz. Yeah, at the time you feel rubbish, and you can watch the tracker and you see the whole race going away from you, so you're pretty gutted. But ultimately it's one of these things. There was nothing else I could do. Shit happens.
How do you improve from race to race?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I think in terms of this particular year, my training was much better this year. So my living arrangements were a lot better. I was living and working in the same city, which helps a lot. So it wasn't necessarily that I was massively upping my hours per week training, but it was a lot more structured and focused around what I should be doing. So that was good. But I managed to sort of approach the year better as well by fitting in another race earlier in the year. So back in May I did race through Poland, which was 1,200k, something like that. And in my mind this was going to be a nice sort of warm up for the season. It was going to be a really like it's a gentle weigh-in for the season. It's going to be good. And it turned out to be absolutely brutal. And it was 4 days of solid rain or snow, storms. It was absolutely brutal. So I've still got a freezing cold injury to my hands. So as soon as the temperature drops to like 10 degrees, my hands don't function so well. But it's just one of those things.
You got saddle sores on your Transcontinental this year, and there was a pair of shorts that apparently you spent 2 hours waiting for a shop to open.
I wanted to get some air downstairs, and like they did do that, but I had to be out of the saddle to do that because they were so polyester. There was no breathability about them, so it literally had to be that they were open to the air to get dry. So yeah, I think a few people got an eyeful that morning. So
what do you think the motivation is for you then? Is it to win, ultimately, the Transcontinental? Because you're going to go back, right?
I have to go back. I can't leave it at second. So no, I've got to go back. We'll see what happens next year. I mean, the field will be different, and yeah, it's one of the goals for sure.